Journey to Antarctica, Part 1, Getting There. Sure, Antarctica is amazing, but the journey getting there is an adventure in itself. Join us as we eat, drink, and travel our way to Antarctica. In this episode, we go all the way to Argentina, the gateway to Antarctica. So some of the first things you might be asking is, where is Antarctica and how the heck do you even get there? Well, those are both really good questions. Let's start with where Argentina and Antarctica are located. Argentina is in South America at the bottom of the continent, and Antarctica is another continent that is separated by the Drake Passage. The Drake Passage is where the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans meet and is considered some of the roughest waters in the world. In this episode, we will be visiting Buenos Aires, Argentina, and Ushuaia, Argentina, the southernmost city in the world. Now let's talk about how to get there. We're starting from Washington, D.C., where we'll take a 2-hour flight to Miami, arriving around midnight, so we'll stay the night there. The next night, we will take a 9-hour flight from Miami all the way to Buenos Aires. In Buenos Aires, we'll stay 2 nights in 2 different hotels, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. Next, we'll take a 4-hour flight from Buenos Aires to Ushuaia. We'll board our expedition cruise in Ushuaia that will take us across the Drake Passage. This was anticipated to take 2 days, but really it only took 1 day. So some of you may be wondering, why don't you just fly to Antarctica? Well, only scientists and really wealthy people are able to fly to Antarctica. So for now, we get to experience the Drake Passage on a boat. And so after years of planning, our journey begins. First up, packing. And this was going to be a difficult challenge because we'd be encountering all types of weather. It's going to be chilly in DC, warm in Miami, hot in Buenos Aires, chilly in Ushuaia, and we had absolutely no idea what would be facing in Antarctica. But we still managed to get it all packed in 2 suitcases. The first stop on our trip, Miami, for a whole 18 hours. Welcome to, wait, that's not what it looked like. Oh, that's what it looked like. This was our view from the Hilton Blue Lagoon. We booked this hotel for 2 reasons. We were able to use our credit card points to pay for the room, and there was a free shuttle from the Miami airport to the hotel. Since we had a full day in Miami, we decided to take an Uber to South Beach and go explore the area some. We ended up at this really cute sandwich shop, which was really good, but obviously we ordered way too much food, which is pretty usual for us. And as with any city that we go to, we always have to go to a brewery, so we made our way over to South Beach Brewing Company. We had just enough time to have a beer before we needed to get back to the hotel so we could go back to the airport. A few days before the trip, we were offered a chance to upgrade to first class for a minimal price. We figured, since this is a really long trip and we've never flown first class, we should give it a try. When flying first class, you have access to the American Flagship Lounge. Not every airport has one of these, but Miami did. And what's so cool about this is that there is actually a restaurant in this lounge where you can have a whole meal. It was a 3-course meal with a wine pairing. When we boarded our flight at 9 p.m., because we already ate, we were able to just go straight to sleep. And before we knew it, we were flying over the Andes Mountains and about to land in Buenos Aires.
Before we move on to Buenos Aires, we want to share a few of the lessons we've learned so far.
All right, number 1, in Miami, if you're planning on going to South Beach, it's actually a lot further away than you would think it is. It's really only 10 miles by the map, but it took us about an hour just because of all the traffic and everything. So make sure you plan accordingly.
And number 2, compared to business class, first class on American really wasn't that much better. The seats were a little larger, and the flight attendant really had less people to take care of. So the service was a little better, but we didn't think that it was really worth it to upgrade from business to first class on American.
Now, moving on to our second stop, Buenos Aires. When we arrived in Buenos Aires, it was too early to check into our hotel, so we just left our luggage there and hit the town to see the sights. Hey look, There's where Madonna sang Don't Cry For Me Argentina in the movie Evita. One of our first new adventures was to head over to Western Union to try to get some cash. If you don't know about this, Western Union is where you can transfer money and pick up cash. Cash is king in Argentina, and actually Western Union offers a better exchange rate than any of the other currency exchanges around. Next, we headed over to Cafe Tortoni, which is a famous cafe in Buenos Aires, where we got some breakfast and actually got way too much. We had no idea it was going to be this huge platter, and John even ordered a beer, not knowing we were getting coffee and orange juice. Before we knew it, it was time to go back to the hotel and check in, which is pretty good because I was already getting blisters on my feet from wearing the wrong shoes. So I mentioned earlier that we stayed in 2 different hotels. That's because the second night we were actually put up in a hotel by our cruise company Seabourn. So this first night we stayed in the Alvear Icon Hotel. It was a quite lovely room. The shower and tub were huge, and the room itself was really comfortable. Overall, we really enjoyed our stay here. Oh, and there was an exceptional indoor pool that had views of the entire city.
Buenas noches.
We just had the best meal ever. The place was Fogon, F-O-G-O-N,
Yeah.
I don't know, and Gorrita, I could think that's how you say it.
Because there's multiple locations.
Yeah. John's really hot because you're sitting in front of an open fire the entire time, so he's been sweating.
It's like a hollow rectangle, and the fire's in front of you, and it's just. I run hot, so.
I'm just happy he put a shirt back on to do this video. It was $200 US for 7 or 8 courses and wine pairing.
And really almost a show, like the chefs were in front of you, the serving staff was in front of you, like they worked as a team. It was very incredible. It should have been well over 1,000 if that was in the US at any place, so.
Yeah. Good night.
Good night.
We had a storm come through last night, and next door, all of the lawn chairs are in the pool. All of the plants are knocked down. Storm damage was all over the city, including the solar-powered sculpture of a flower that opens up during the day and closes at night, but it's going to be a while before this is repaired. Since all of the tourist attractions that we wanted to go to were closed because of the storm damage, we did what we do best. We went to a brewery. Buller was a nice stop to try a traditional Argentine honey ale. Later that afternoon, it was time to check into our second hotel, the Alvear Palace Hotel. This was the official start to our Antarctica cruise with Seabourn. Seabourn puts up all their guests in a hotel for the night before the cruise starts. I think as a way to get everybody together because the next morning they'll put us on a chartered plane to go to Ushuaia. If you've seen our other video about the cost of the cruise, just know that both this hotel and the charter flight are included in the price. Something that we were not aware of is that evening, Seabourn offered us a couple of excursion opportunities, one being a tango show. And this was something I was actually interested in, but most of the tango shows go really late. Seabourn worked out a deal to have a tango show early so everyone could get to bed on time. And I'm glad they did because the morning came really quick. Remember that storm I talked about? Well, we actually had to change airports because the airport we were supposed to leave from had storm damage. And after a 4-hour trip, we finally landed in Ushuaia. And one thing I learned is don't worry about how you say it because everyone seems to say it differently. After we landed, Seabourn gave us a bus tour around the city so we could see some of the sights, which was really nice, but I think it was because the cruise wasn't quite ready. But it was also our first time to actually see our ship. And we also saw this random guy with a bird on his head. With a few hours to spare before we set sail, we decided to go into the city and try some of the local beers, so we could say we've had some of the beers from the southernmost city in the world. And then our true adventure began. And before we leave you, we want to share a few lessons we learned from Argentina.
Lesson 1. Bring insect repellent. Mosquitoes are everywhere. We even got bit up in the airport.
Number 2, there was a really big language barrier in Argentina. We've traveled a lot of places, and this is the biggest language barrier that we have experienced. It was probably about a 50-50 chance that someone would speak English. So make sure you brush up on your Spanish and have a translator app on hand.
Lesson number 3. Uber and taxis are widely available in Argentina and Buenos Aires. They're usually very small cars that are not very nice. The windows usually roll down. You can ask for a comfort Uber, which means they would maybe turn on the air conditioning for you. They are small cars. We had 2 suitcases, and in one car, we had to put a suitcase in the front seat. So just be aware that if you're bringing a lot of luggage, you might have to really figure out a better way to get around in Buenos Aires or Argentina.
And last, kind of going along with the whole car thing, there's no traffic rules, or if there are, they don't apply. I don't know. So sometimes there'd be like 3 lanes, but all the cars would make it into 5 lanes. People would turn, like if they were in the far right lane, they would turn left, and it was no problem. And they kind of just drive erratically and really fast. So I would recommend not renting a car and driving yourself. Still rely upon the Ubers or taxis and let them get into a wreck instead of you. Please be on the lookout in the next few weeks for our next video exploring the Great White Continent.